channel French Pulse. Let's enjoy learning French. Today we're going to learn about le discours rapporte, that is reported speech or indirect speech. This is a vast topic and I'm going to cover this topic in a few parts. Now, first of all, discours rapporte, reported speech or indirect speech, we are going to learn three different kinds. Phrase declarative, which is a simple statement. Then we're going to have phrase imperative, which is for order or for giving advice. Phrase interrogative, which is a question. In today's part, we're going to learn only phrase declarative. What are the steps to change direct speech into indirect speech in a declarative sentence, that is a simple statement? So in phrase declarative, we will have to, the steps are main clause plus que plus subordinate clause, remove the inverted commas, change the subject pronoun and the verb accordingly, change possessive adjective, direct object pronoun, indirect object pronoun according to who is speaking to whom in the main clause. Let's look at a few examples to understand these steps better. Let's look at an example to understand how to change direct speech into indirect speech. So here we go. Elle dit, je fais mon travail. This is direct speech. So this is how it's written. Elle dit, colon, put a quote, je fais mon travail and close the quote. It is direct speech. Now, to change it to indirect speech, what will my answer be? Elle dit qu'elle fait son travail. Now, what are the steps involved in changing from direct to indirect? Now, elle dit is the main clause. What's my subordinate clause? Je fais mon travail. She says, I'm doing my work. She says that she's doing her work. So what do we do here? When changing to indirect speech, join the main clause and the subordinate clause with que. What do we do? When joining with que, the subject pronoun, the verb and the possessive adjective, if the possessive adjective is there in the sentence, in this sentence we have the possessive adjective. In the subordinate clause will change according to who's speaking to whom in the main clause. Now let's look at the example. So we write out first the main clause, elle dit, join the main clause with the subordinate clause with que and change the subject pronoun. She says that she's doing her work. So we change it to elle, the corresponding verb as well as the possessive adjective. So my answer is elle dit qu'elle fait son travail. Let's look at some more examples. Let's look at some more examples to understand how to change from direct to indirect speech. So here we go. Il dit je vais chez ma sœur. So what is it? Il dit colon, inverted commas, je vais chez ma sœur, close the quote. Now, this will change to il dit qu'il va chez sa sœur. What were the steps involved? First step is write out the main clause. We wrote out the main clause il dit. Remove the colon and the quotes. Remove the colon and the quotes. Join the main clause with the subordinate clause using que and change the subject pronoun, the verb and the possessive adjective in the subordinate clause according to who's speaking to whom in the main clause. So, il dit, so I change my je changes to il, the corresponding verb will be va, chez, ma sœur will change to sa sœur. So, the answer would be, il dit qu'il va chez sa sœur. Let's take another example, the same one, il me dit, he tells me, je vais chez ma sœur. So, write out the main clause, il me dit, remove the colon as well as the quotes, join the main clause with the subordinate clause using que, change the subject pronoun, the corresponding verb and the possessive adjective in the subordinate clause according to who's speaking to whom in the main clause. So, he tells me that he is going to go to his sister. So, je changes to il, corresponding verb will be va, ma sœur will become sa sœur. Now let's look at the next example. Il me dit, je t'attendrai devant ton école. I'm going to wait for you in front of your school. Il me dit is my main clause. When I'm changing from direct to indirect in phrase declarative, I write out the main clause, remove the colon as well as the quotes, join the sentence using que, in the subordinate clause, change the subject pronoun, the verb, as well as the possessive adjective according to who's speaking to whom in the main clause. So, qu'il m'attendra devant mon école. So, je becomes il, t'attendra will become m'attendra, is going to wait for me where? In front of my school. Mind you, even the verb conjugation will change accordingly. Now, let's look at the next example. Il lui dit, je t'attendrai devant ton école. Il lui dit, he tells him, I'm going to wait for you in front of your school. So, the answer, changing it to indirect speech will be, he tells him that I'm going to wait for him, that he is going to wait for him in front of his school. So, what happens? Il lui dit, write out the main clause, remove the colon, remove the quotes, join the main clause with the subordinate clause with que, change the subject pronoun, je will change to il. Why did I change it to il? Because in the main clause it's telling me who's speaking to him, whom? He is speaking to him. So, il l'attendra. Why did I put L apostrophe? Because attendre is a verb that has the meaning of preposition in it. What's the meaning of attendre? To wait for. So, it's followed by a direct object. So, qu'il l'attendra devant ton école becomes son école. Let's look at some more examples. Let's look at another example. Il me dit, colon, start the quotes, je t'écrirai après mon travail, close the inverted commas. So, we're changing, this is phrase declarative, we're changing from direct to indirect speech. What are my steps involved? Write out the main clause, il me dit, remove the colon as well as the quotes, join the sentence using que, and change the subject pronoun, the verb, the possessive adjective in the subordinate clause according to who's talking to whom in the main clause. So, il me dit, he tells me, I'm going to write to you after my work. So, he tells me that he's going to write to me after his work. So, the je changes to il, t'écrira, writing to you will become he's going to write to me. The verb conjugation will change and possessive adjective will become son from mon. So, answer will be il me dit qu'il m'écrira après son travail. Now, let's look at another example. Il lui dit, he tells him, je t'écrirai après mon travail. The same sentence. I'm going to write to you after my work. But here the main clause tells me, il lui dit, he tells him. So, what does my rule say? Write out the main clause, remove the colon and the inverted commas, join the main clause with the subordinate clause using que, and change the subject pronoun, the verb, the possessive adjective in the subordinate clause according to who's talking to whom in the main clause. So, in the main clause, who's talking to him? Il lui dit, he's talking to him. He tells him, I'm going to write to you after my work. He tells him that he's going to write to him after his work. Now, here we said, il lui dit qu'il lui écrira après son travail. Je changes to il, te changes to lui, verb changes and mon travail changes to son travail. Now here, why did this change to lui here? Because écrire is a verb which is followed by a. So therefore, we've got indirect object here. Let's look at some more examples to understand how to change direct to indirect speech. Let's look at another example. Le prof le dit, colon, inverted commas, start, je vous expliquerai la leçon, close the quotes. Now, what does my rule say? To change from direct to indirect, write out the main clause, remove the colon and the quotes, join the main clause with the subordinate clause with que, change the subject pronoun, the verb, the direct or indirect object, whatever is there in the sentence, as well as the possessive adjective, according to who's speaking to whom in the main clause. So what does my main clause say? Le prof le dit. Who's the prof talking to? He's telling them. I'm going to explain to you the lesson. qu'il leur expliquera la leçon. So here, le prof le dit. Join the sentence with que. Il, je becomes il. Vous becomes leur. Expliquera. Expliquera is a verb. Expliquer is a verb which takes indirect object. So leur, la leçon. Let's take another example. Le prof leur dit. The same main clause. Je vous écouterai après mon travail. So I'm going to listen to you after my work. So the rule says write out the main clause, remove the colon as well as the quotes, join the main clause with the subordinate clause using que, change the subject pronoun, the verb, the direct or indirect object, whatever is there in the sentence, the possessive adjective according to who's speaking to whom in the main clause. So le professeur leur dit qu'il, je changes to il, vous changes to les écoutera après son travail. Now, why here did we put les instead of leur? Because écouter is a verb that takes direct object. The meaning of the verb écouter is to listen to. It already has the preposition in the meaning, listen to. So, therefore, it takes les. I hope you have understood how to change direct speech into indirect speech in phrase déclarative. Click the link in the description box for exercises on the same. Like, share and subscribe to my channel. Au revoir et à bientôt.